Let's go down the rabbit hole.
Hey everybody else, how's it going? I hope you're having a good evening. I want to bring up some different stuff here, and I want to start with the Nova Scotia climate lockdown. This is a little bit of a lengthy video, and I'm taking a real risk showing this to you guys, but this guy puts it out there really well. This is way ahead of time. This video was ahead of its time. And so I want to show it to you. It's around 12 minutes long, but you don't want to miss any of what this guy has to say because he's pretty much on top of the ball the whole entire time. The Nova Scotia lockdowns basically are pertaining to wildfires that have been happening in Canada, and they believe that they can prevent forest fires by keeping people from driving in the woods, hunting, fishing, hiking. But you can camp in campgrounds, which I find interesting because I think if you were trying to, avoid forest fires, you would want to keep the tourists out of the campgrounds. Anyways, it just seems like it's a climate lockdown, and this reminds me of when Project Veritas had infiltrated CNN. And what Project Veritas did is they used like women to go into these dating sites and to find these high up guys and set up a date and wear a wire or a camera and videotape the conversation. And it come out in a Project Veritas report where CNN was talking about, we're pushing the whole, anti-Trump this and pro-Biden that. And then he says, and then we're going to get into climate change, and we're going to really drill that to the bone and really drive it home. And he said that, they're going to talk about climate lockdowns and all that stuff. And Klaus Schwab has talked about climate lockdowns. And like I've been telling people from the very beginning, and people that watch this channel know what I'm saying when I say this, that my brother, Doc Marquis, my buddy who was ex-Illuminati, he told me that the Illuminati never does anything without testing it first. Even going back into World War II, the Japanese Americans that were thrown into concentration camps during World War II, and the Boston bombings that were staged to test run, going door to door, taking people's guns. There was like multiple shootouts that happened in Boston during that time between law enforcement and homeowners, and many people got their guns seized. Katrina, it was the same. I mean, I've seen video of the elderly getting roughed up in the post Katrina disaster. And so the Illuminati never does anything without testing it first. And so they're testing. And I'll be honest with you, this is just my opinion. This is a no offense to Canadians. There's a lot of clampdown in Canada already that's been implemented, and it's almost like they're using it as a test run because it's not far from America either. Like, hey, let's do this in Canada first, and let's test run it and war game it and see what happens, and let's see how people behave. So anyways, I think it's important to note that they've been planning this stuff for quite some time. And, just setting aside the chikungunya virus that's happening in China, And in a little bit, we're going to talk about some other viruses that are coming out of the woodworks. All right, but I want to talk about this Nova Scotia climate lockdown that's happening, and then I also want to bring up something before I show you this. I remember back in the day, and boy oh boy, I have been through I have been through some stuff online and seen documents, and just dug and just I didn't even know how I got there. And I remember finding, and it had to deal with what some people would call the BLM, or the Department of Natural Resources, Bureau of Land Management, or Department of Natural Resources. It's all interconnected, but I saw a map of America that had diagonal lines all the way through it. And I couldn't remember how many lines there were, but the way that these lines were set up, there was these sectors that were diagonal all across America, and it was a government article or paper or whatever. I had reached it through some government site. This had to be when I was in my early 20s, and I remember them talking about how if you cross that line when martial law is enacted, you can be shot on sight, and it has everything to deal with the climate laws and the environmental laws put in place. Okay, so I'm just throwing that out there. I know it sounds a little crazy, but I've run across this map myself. I saw it on a government website. This was a long time ago, but I wanted to say that before I play this video, and I really hope people are paying attention to what this gentleman has to say.
The ruling establishment has a lot of, they will stop at nothing.
This was aired October 21st, 2014. Remember that. This guy was ahead of his time.
To complete their toolkit of control. Right? So one of the things that has been missing from the toolkit of total control has been quarantines and curfews, right? Mm-hmm. So now, welcome to the new world in America, where to get on a bus, to go through a subway station, if you think that the procedures at the TSA are onerous, right? Guess this is coming to a bus depot near you. It's a more invasive way, and the ruling class needs this because, let me say, if the ruling class ever saw wide-scale civil unrest, you'd see an Ebola outbreak in America right away.
Okay, so this is what you see is that Ebola is
another tool in the toolbox of the ruling class control. Yeah,
to keep down
absolutely,
repression.
positively, 100%. This is a tool.
Right.
Ebola doesn't just magically start spreading, and then we have this doctors that come back here. The white people, of course, live. The two whites who got it or survived. All the black people that get it die. Right? It's very possible that these one of these NGOs over there is going around with a veil of Ebola, or spreading it from a small plane onto villages. The point is to get hundreds of thousands of people infected with it and create the next phase of control. Now, one of the things I'd like to show to back up my my claims here. Here's a document from the Rockefeller Foundation. Rockefeller Foundation, right there. You can zoom in on that, where my finger is. It's called Scenarios for the Future International Development, the Rockefeller Foundation. All right. Okay, let's take a look at what they're saying here. This is something like a 50, 60-page document. I'd like you to go to page 18, if you can look at this up on the internet, but I'll read it off to you. It's called Lock Step, Lock Step. And this is a phrase that I used right after 2001, when I saw the entire system of the United States, including the population, were in lockstep. So the Congress went along, and yes, it was Osama bin Laden, and the people waved their flag and said, I hate, 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 and everything was in lockstep. Well, in 2010, they published this, Rockefeller Foundation, and here's what they're saying. They're saying that they call it a scenario. These are scenario narratives, and they speak about it in the past tense. So they put out this scenario, lockstep. A world of tighter, top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback. Okay, I'll read a little bit of it. In 2012, the pandemic that the world had been anticipating for years, nobody was anticipating a pandemic, finally hit. Unlike 2009's H1N1. This new influenza strain originating from wild geese. They use some scenario, but this is Ebola they're talking about.
Ahead.
Even the most pandemic prepared nations were quickly overwhelmed when the virus streaked around the world, infecting nearly 20% of the global population and killing 8 million in just 7 months, the majority of them healthy young adults. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economies. You can see the agenda. Just naked, raw, naked control agenda written down, and it's anybody's guess how this becomes effectuated in real life. So whether this is written specifically as marching orders or whether people take it upon themselves in the intelligence networks to say, okay, well, this has been produced, so this is the plan here. But these narratives have to be written in advance because the intelligence agencies don't know how to do these narratives. They need help. So these think tanks, they come up with these like Rand Corporation, Rockefeller Foundation. These are think tanks of death. They're not the think tanks. They're not there to find great ways to help people. Right? Okay. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economics. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt. Which is what they want. They want a completely isolated world, right? Debilitating industries like tourism and breaking global supply chains. Well, of course they want tourism stopped because they're not in the tourism business, and they want you at home in your house in front of the TV. Then they got you because once you watch the TV, they own your soul. Even locally.
Wait a second, we're on television.
I mean commercial television, let's say. National. Even locally, normally bustling shops and offices sat empty for months. Okay, so I love how they talk about it in the past tense in 2010. Right? The pandemic blanketed the planet, though disproportionate numbers in Africa died. Southeast Asia and Central America, where the virus spread like wildfire.
It sounds like the opening monologue of a disaster movie, right?
Exactly. Now here's the good stuff now. But even in developed countries, containment was a challenge. Now here's this one. I love this one. The United States' initial policy of strongly discouraging, in quotation marks, strongly discouraging citizens from flying proved deadly in its leniency. So they're saying, that
no, keep going. Read it. Just
proved deadly in its leniency. So they should have been tougher, right? Accelerating the spread of the virus, not just within the United States, but across borders. However, a few countries did fare better. China in particular. The Chinese government's quick imposition and enforcement of mandatory quarantine for all citizens, as well as its instant and near hermetic sealing off of all borders, saved millions of lives, stopping the spread of virus far earlier than in other countries. So the message is we have to look towards the Chinese, the oppressive totalitarian Chinese regime as an example of what we need to be doing here. And of course, the ruling class here loves the Chinese regime because they have demonstrated to the ruling class the most efficient form of capitalism, which
I want to say this real quick before we continue, that Justin Trudeau has praised China's model on communism. I just want to make that very well known before we continue.
Which is authoritarian capitalism. So we have capitalism, but unfortunately we have this veil.
I get it.
We have this veil of democracy.
This is very interesting. This is continue on.
Okay. China's government was not the only one that took extreme measures to protect its citizens from risk and exposure. During the pandemic, national leaders around the world flexed their muscles, flexed their authority, and imposed airtight rules and restrictions. You can see the agenda.
Go.
Okay. From the mandatory wearing of face masks to body temperature checks at the entries to communal spaces like
that's what's happening right now.
But soon it's going to be like body,
it'll be at the subway.
And don't you guys remember in the airport during the COVID-19 pandemic where they were taking everybody's temperatures?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? We'll be going through this and stuff to get on buses and the subway?
Absolutely.
Things like that.
And what this means, though, is, don't think about having a cigarette, a joint on you, or, basically you can't. This is a dragnet for everything. So if in order for you
in
to,
other words, just like with stop and frisk, this is ultimate stop and frisk.
this is the ultimate cavity stop and fix, cavity search kind of thing. All right. So during the pandemic, national leaders around the world flex their authority. You know, they're now there's some good stuff. Listen to this. And even supermarkets, they want body checks at supermarkets. Okay, so basically what they're saying is they're building a system where every move you make, you got to go through them.
You can't get food. Well, how about if you go to the farmer's market?
Right. Here's the good stuff now. I mean, it just keeps getting better. Even after the pandemic faded, this more authoritarian control and oversight of citizens and their activities stuck. And even intensified. That's the whole point. So they're going to get rid of...
Didn't that happen already with 9/11?
Of course.
9/11 was how many, 14 years ago? And we still have all these draconian
So
rules.
they're going to put the body cavity
USA,
searches
Patriot, and all
That's right.
stuff.
So in order to get to a supermarket, you got to have a body cavity search. And then when...
I'm not trying to be inappropriate here, but I remember even in China when they were doing rectal swabs on people. So, I mean, this dude is so on point with every single thing he's saying. And this is all out of the Rockefeller Foundation. It all war gamed out from the very beginning. Let's continue on.
And when there's no more Ebola, well, you know what? We kind of like this way because we have an complete infrastructure of a control grid. In order to protect themselves from the spread of increasingly global problems, from pandemics and national terrorism to environmental crisis and rising poverty, leaders around the world took a firmer grip on power. Well, what the hell would rising poverty have anything to do with imposing strict citizen controls with face masks? So they're very sloppy stuff here. At first, the notion of a more controlled world gained wide acceptance and approval. I'm sorry. Nobody likes this stuff. They're just saying it. No, I have to provide analysis.
Only because we only have 5 minutes left. So that's
oh my God. Okay. Citizens willingly gave up some of their sovereignty and their privacy to more paternalistic states in exchange for greater safety and stability. I mean, that's just a complete naked contradiction to the famous saying that if you think you're going to give up a little bit of security, I mean, if you're going to give up your freedom for security, you're going to get neither. That's the long-standing thing. And here what they're doing is they're not even ashamed or embarrassed to absolutely say the exact opposite. They're saying, yes, we all want to give up our privacy and sovereignty for more stability and security and stability. So you don't get that. When you give it up like that, you get the shaft.
Can you show us the cover again of what you were just reading?
One more time, and then I have two more documents.
Right, this is what we were reading here, and just zoom in a little bit so folks can see it. He'll zoom in. Don't worry, you can relax.
All right.
And scenarios for the future of technology and international development.
Okay. Now I have two more documents. Keep it zoomed. We have the National Security Memorandum of December 10th, 1974. This is Henry Kissinger's brainchild. The National Security Memorandum number 200. You can look that up on your internet. I'll summarize it. He says that there's too many people. We got to get rid of the population. So to answer your question,
from earlier,
yeah, he says he used the word depopulation, which is different. Depopulation means killing people that already exist, and it's to get the minerals because we need the minerals. And here's another one. The CDC has a patent on Ebola. They patented it. Yeah? Right. So basically, if you want to get a cure for your Ebola,
you got to go. It right up here, right? It says human Ebola virus species and compositions and methods thereof, and it's a patent.
It's a patent. They patented the main strain plus something like 17 other strains of it. So they own it now, and I don't know how exactly you can own that, but apparently they've done the same thing.
Yeah, I didn't think you could own a natural.
Yeah, you can. I guess the main thing to finish off this show is this: that they want to get more control, more and it's going to be curfews and quarantine. So what I'm saying is that unless the American people start to get some new way to revolt, a new way to organize, new way to protest, unless we can break through the apathy, because that's what we have here, then it's going to be a slave state here. The ruling class doesn't seem to have too much resistance. They're getting everything on their Christmas shopping list, and they've been wanting quarantines and curfews for a long time. Now they got it. And
so I think you guys get the point of what's happening here. And, I don't think he's wrong in anything that he's saying. It's exactly where they're supposed to be at, just minus the Ebola, and just today, and I mean, it's pretty much hot off the press, this new COVID-19 Stratus variant. You see how they're pushing it already, and they're getting things ready for this fall. What we've been talking about. I'm not going to even sit here and click on all this mumbo jumbo. I'm not. I'm not convinced. I'm sorry. I'm just not. But the reality is that this stuff is going on. Look at that. It's, 1 day ago, 9 hours ago, 22 hours ago, all fresh information when it comes to this new COVID variant and chikungunya virus and all that stuff out of China. It sounds all too familiar, that like the stuff that's happened before. Give me a moment here. So, going back to this stuff on the COVID lock or the Nova Scotia lockdowns. All right. And they're talking that this is going to go until October, which is in the fall. So now they're saying New Brunswick, the second province in Canada to issue climate lockdowns after Nova Scotia. Do you see what's going on, folks? Right before your very eyes, it's happening again already. They're just different means to the same end is what it looks like to me. Different means to the same end. And they want to get these areas where there's not a lot of people living, get them inside, you can't go out into the woods. And it's the government that tells you what, is woods and what isn't. Is your backyard that has trees in it going to be considered woods? This is absolute madness, folks. Absolute madness. And they even have a hotline that you could snitch on your neighbors. Government snitches. You know what I mean? This is happening.
Activities that really aren't necessary. They're restricting travel and activities that really aren't necessary for most of us. Hiking, camping, fishing, and the use of vehicles in the woods are not permitted. The fine for violating any of these bans is the same as the fine for the ban on burning, $25,000. They're restricting travel and activities that really aren't necessary.
It's just absolutely ridiculous that they're going to force people to stay out of the woods. So you can't even drive in the woods. That's the thing. It's not just hiking. You can't even drive in the woods. And I'll tell you, folks, that's unnerving. You can't hunt, you can't fish, so you can't provide for your family if something is going on. And they're saying that this is going to go until October next month, or September, October. I'm sorry. 2 months from now. I apologize. My math is terrible and my calculations are terrible. But 2 months from now. 2 months from now. Oh, just to flatten the curve of the wildfires, right? Just to flatten that curve. Remember? Y'all remember 2 weeks to flatten the curve, don't you? And then 2 more weeks to flatten that curve, and 2 more weeks to flatten that curve. And heck, let's make it 2 years to flatten the curve. Where does it end? And like I told you, the Illuminati never does anything without testing it first. I think you get the idea, though. And there's also a gentleman, and I think he's up here more. There's also a gentleman right here. I gotta give it to Jeff Ebley for disobeying orders and going into the woods anyways. And he did it right in front of what would be Canada's Department of Natural Resources, right there. That's their office building. And he goes in there and he's like, so what's the fine? And his fine came out to be, hold on, I'll show you. Right there. $28,870 for walking into the woods. Right there. $28,872. Oh, and 50 cents. Because Nova Scotia needs 50 cents, of course. And there's victims fees that were a part of that. When I watched the whole video, there was victims fees that were part of that, and they issued him a almost $29,000 fine for stepping into the woods. For stepping into the woods, everybody. Do you hear the lunacy that's going on right now? And we're not done. We're not done. I'm telling you, things are brewing. I've been warning lockdowns are coming. And just because it's in Canada, not happening in America. If this was happening in America, everybody would be saying, oh, Josh, you were right. You called it 2 years ago, but it's not here yet. But it's coming. I'm telling you, everybody. I've been trying to warn everybody. I said it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy road before we get to that finish line, but we're almost there. And this is proof. This is proof. Them wanting to do this, them moving us towards Agenda 2030 is exactly proof of how close we are to the pre-tribulation rapture. That's my opinion. I'm just throwing that out there. This is my channel. I'll say what I want. Now, there is over 100 teens. I don't know how they can count just 100 teens, just under or just over 100 teens in D.C. in the Navy Yard, and they're saying a shooting has taken place, and we're gonna play that footage here for you now. Shoot it!
They arrested someone. He's in the car behind me. Very quick response here by transit, metro, and some federal assets. So we're down here in Navy Yard, Washington, D.C. We're photographing and filming a large group that was in this park behind me. You can see some of the leftover trash. Close to 100 people were gathered here, and we heard shots fired. I believe it was more than one. It's hard to hear in the moment. We followed police. They arrested a suspect at this place, and they recovered a firearm as well. We have seen an unbelievable amount of assets being thrown at this. You have Metro, Transit, Capitol Police, and multiple federal officials. I've seen FBI, I've seen HSI, I've seen other kinds of park police in the area. They are throwing a massive amount for this specific incident here. It's very obvious that the city has taken a slightly different posture going forwards.
So I think you guys get the picture, though, of what I'm trying to say here. Now, give me a moment. I want to show you this Illuminati card here. And they have this Illuminati card called Urban Gangs. And there's other cards, part of the Illuminati card game, that I haven't shown and won't show that are, racially motivated on both sides. On both sides, black and white, And I want to make it clear that the Illuminati, even down to the mafia, the Illuminati run all of these groups. And when you get into the symbolism, and I'm going to throw it out there, the symbolism of these white nationalist groups, it's a cult. When you get into the symbolism of these inner city gangs, it's a cult. Do your research and you will find out that these people are pawns in a big, big game. All right. And so it surprises me not that Trump is talking about cracking down in Washington, D.C. And then all of a sudden, 100 exactly, teens show up, gang related, and start popping shots off. And they throw this huge, big, scene. And I'll be honest with you, it looks like those police didn't start running until they saw the camera behind them. I'm not trying to be rude there, but it's what it looked like to me, and I'm just observing from outside their box. But what I am saying is Trump's talking about, taking over DC, and I'll be honest with you, that reminds me a whole lot of that movie Civil War, where this dude didn't want to leave the White House, and he had all of Washington D.C. militarized. And the crime is just through the roof, so it gives them an excuse to bring in the solution. Problem, reaction, solution, right? So there's a lot going on, between the China virus, you know what I mean? Saying that again, and then the Stratus variant, and the Nova Scotia climate lockdowns that are turning into New Brunswick lockdowns as well. It's spreading, you see, because people are listening, so they're gaining a foothold. And then you got, destabilization all over the United States. If you think that this is just it that's going on in Washington, D.C. tonight, this is peanuts compared to what's going on out there all across the United States, and especially in Europe. I'll be honest with you. The things that I've seen, the violent attacks that I've seen in Europe would make most of your stomachs flip-flop and you'd vomit in your lap. I promise you. All right? And I don't say that to scare anybody. I say that to say that this is happening and this is going on, and it's not going anywhere, and it's gaining traction. It's getting worse. And you have, Americans that are joining these terrorist organizations and intend to do other Americans harm because they hate America now all of a sudden, because it's trendy. Just like with the Freemasons, it was trendy to be a stone mason, and then, nobility got involved, and then everything went to crackpot, you know what I mean? And then same with and I've been learning a lot about the Bohemian Grove lately. I'll even just announce it now. My next documentary after Mackinac Monarch 2 is going to be about the Bohemian Grove. And what's interesting is it started out with all these just artists and musicians and stuff that relatively didn't have money or nothing like that. And they realized they couldn't have what they wanted unless they allowed these dudes in with money. And they saw that it was trendy. And once the elite get involved, you see what I'm saying? It all went downhill. And not to say that anything Bohemian Grove or Bohemian Club from the beginning was anything good. It wasn't. But what I'm saying is this movement, this pro-terrorism movement in America is gaining traction. Just like this, the anti-government movement, like Antifa, anti-fascism, all this stuff. Even though that goes all the way back to Nazi Germany in the late 1930s, the anti-fascist movement helped get Hitler into power. So it's like, both sides of the coin are controlled. They're both wings of the same bird. Same thing with the right and the left. And to wake up from that paradigm, it's refreshing. And I'll be honest, I can't believe we're going down this road, but it gets worse. And I care about people, so I am going to warn people of the news I'm about to share with you. What I'm about to share with you is extremely stomach turning. Like, there unfortunately is some graphic explanations in this that is just absolutely distasteful. But I want to read the article because I believe that sexual predators need to be thrown under the bus, and their names need to be mentioned. And so that's what I'm going to do today. And so if you are someone who has been abused in your past and it's sensitive subject matter to talk about this, please exit the live now. I am also someone that has been abused in the past, and I'll tell you what, God has helped me gain the strength to be able to investigate this stuff when it was extremely difficult in the beginning. But here we go. So for those of you that are queasy to this sort of thing, please exit the live now. An ex-diplomat and World Bank consultant arrested for sexually abusing 3 children under 10 years old in Washington, D.C. Right under the nose of Trump, huh? Interesting. A former diplomat, World Bank consultant, and married father of 3 was arrested last month and charged with sexually abusing 3 children under the age of 10 in Washington, D.C., according to a report. Thomas Mahoney, and again, I want to say that Thomas Mahoney, 42 years old, an Australian national, is accused of abusing 2 7-year-old girls and 1 8-year-old boy. You are a sick piece of crap. With all 3 incidents occurring at his family home during play dates with his children, the Washington Post reported. The alleged abuse occurred in separate incidents in November 2023, February 2023, and as recently as July 2025 of this year. Literally just a couple of months ago, folks, this was going on in Washington, D.C. And it goes on to basically state that, you know, this guy is being held here in America. His wife left him, pieced out to Japan. It talks about details about what he was up to, but I want to highlight this detail here. Mahoney was known in the Northwest Washington community as an engaged, proud parent who volunteered as a photographer for his children's swim teams, the report stated. Do you see that? Now, I want to tell you something, and this is the truth, man. All right, I remember back in the day, me and my wife, we took my son to the beach at a lake that wasn't far from where we lived. And there was a man that showed up with the camera and was taking pictures. And it's almost like he took the pictures, then asked for permission later. And he's like, oh, he's telling the parents, oh, here's my email. I'll send you these pictures later on. I emailed him asking for the pictures of my son that he took. Never got back to me. And if I would have seen him again, ever again, I would have called the police on him. And if you see someone with the camera at the beach taking photographs and children could be in that shot, it is your duty to stand up, all right, and make sure that these sick puppies are held accountable and hold their flames to the fire. We have to get rid of that normalcy bias. We're under attack, folks. We're under attack, and we have to stand up for the children. And if we don't, God help us. So, you know, these attacks that this guy did were on these kids during play dates with, you know, his children in his house. So be careful, parents, where you send your kids. Know who you're sending them to. And it goes on to say that some of these parents are like, oh, it couldn't be this dude. You know, this family we can trust. The Mahoneys we can trust. You know, and so it just goes on. And I don't want to get into details specifically, but, you know, you can look up this article, ex-diplomat, World Bank consultant arrested for sexually abusing 3 children under 10 in D.C. This is going on in D.C. This is proof that the elite, this guy probably didn't play dice. He probably didn't play dice with someone in Washington, D.C., and they threw him under the bus. And it's a threat to everybody else that they have blackmail on, saying, if you don't fall in line, we don't care who you are. We'll make you known in the New York Post to the entire world that you're a PETA. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of these people in the higher echelons of power are compromised, you know, and part of my documentary that I'm doing recently is about exposing some certain individuals that are compromised in connection to some big, we'll say some big networks. All right. We'll say some big networks. And there's a lot that I'm going to release that I can't release just yet. But everybody, this is Sodom and Gomorrah's type stuff, because I want to point out something. It says that in the story a lot, in the story with Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed by the 2 angels of the Lord, it was the young men and the old men. It wasn't just the old men. It was the young men and the old men. It was the youngsters and the old men being brainwashed into doing what they were doing. And the Bible goes as far as telling, and I got to be careful here what I say, because, you know, I just got to be careful. But it was legal. The judges changed laws in Sodom and Gomorrah, making what the name of the city is named after illegal for these militant gangs of men and young men, all right, to roam the streets. They were militant. They marched. Are you getting it? They marched in the streets, and it was legal for them to have beds in the alleyways. And I'm just going to be honest with you, and I'm going to be frank with you here, and this is going to be extremely graphic, so if you can't handle what I'm about to say, turn it off now. But these people, all right, gang raped people to death. That's what was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. And so we're seeing people come into this country that are it's like this new fad of gang raping all of a sudden. Have you guys noticed it? We are at that point of what Sodom and Gomorrah was before their destruction. And I'm talking a selective judgment And I do believe that during the Great Tribulation, America is going to get its comeuppance. I promise you that it will. But I do think that we're going to go through a time. Blue Angel, I don't know about that, sister. I appreciate you, and it's okay to have your own opinion. But we're really close. We're really neck and neck with what Sodom and Gomorrah was. We just have a greater population and more people doing it. So you're right to a certain extent, but also the acts are all the same. The mind of man is depraved right now, and it talks about before the flood came, before God destroyed the world with the flood, that the mind of man was violent continually. And I'm sorry, gang raping is violence, plain and simple. I don't care. You could try to say it's lost all you want, but gang raping is violence. It is intent to do bodily harm to a victim. And these things are happening to young women in Europe. And where's the voice? Where's the people who are standing up for these young ladies? Every Christian's so scared to bring these topics up in fear of retaliation. You know what? Come at me, bro. You know what I mean? I'm not scared of you. All right? And these things need to be talked about because there's young ladies, 12, 13, 14 years old, being gang assaulted in Europe. That's starting to happen here in America. There's people coming into our country that intend to do us harm. This is an outright full-blown invasion. And it's all being conscripted by the United Nations and the replacement migration stuff that they've done. And there's literally a document, a PDF document, replacement migration from the UN. So, folks, this is getting serious. And so you're seeing all across the board how things are being primed for lockdowns, or whether it be a virus, whether it be climate lockdowns, or whether it be martial law, they'll have their way. They will have their Agenda 2030. And I've been nothing but trying to warn everybody this is fastly approaching. And instead, people get mad at me, call me a fearmonger, and unsubscribe from someone that truly is caring, trying to warn them of the enemy approaching the camp. And I'm saying, yes, the finish line's right in front of us. Don't take your eyes off it. But hey, listen up. Things are about to get bumpy. You're about to experience some turbulence before we go home. And the devil is trying to throw a tantrum worldwide. I literally had two of my friends get into a truck accident today and they accidentally drove off a cliff and rolled down the cliff, their truck completely totaled. And God spared them, spared their lives. My brother Johnny and his wonderful wife Linda, Sister Linda from Arrow Ministries. I mean, it's incredible how Johnny walked away from it. And his wife, she just got a black eye, sore back, and a little bit of a headache. And I'm praying that nothing else is wrong internally. And I pray healing in Jesus' name. But it's amazing because even though the ride is bumpy, God will spare your life. Psalms 91, speak it and pray it over your home. Because I'm telling you, the time is here. The time is now to really fight this good fight. Like this is that last home stretch. We are so close. And I wanted to make this video today to show people, what's going on, to show people what's happening. So folks, this is some serious stuff, and I want people to pay attention. It seems like all of this is really on the verge, right, ready to happen. Some form of control is happening. Some form of control is happening. And that's what I see brewing. That's what's really big that's brewing is they will commence, with the completion of what they need to have in place for there to be a solidified Agenda 2030 by the year 2030. They want to have this in place, control of the whole entire globe by the year 2030. That means in the next 4 years, something really big is going to happen. And I kind of hypothesize it's going to be this next year, the year after that. So, I do believe the pre-tribulation rapture is imminent around the corner, but we're not guaranteed what day or what time, all right, or what month, but we know that Jesus is coming soon, and you see all these signs all around you. Wars, rumors of wars, nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, famines, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. In Mark, it talks about distress of nations with perplexity, with the sea and the waves roaring. I mean, those are 9 signs that are all simultaneously happening all at once. And many shall be offended. The love of many waxing cold. These are all signs. It's happening right in front of our eyes. People being persecuted. I apologize, but I don't apologize that Christians in other countries are being slaughtered in Syria, slaughtered in the Congo. I mean, there's over 70 people in a church that were beheaded. That's going on, folks, in a time frame that people believe, oh, nothing bad can happen. There needs to be marriages and giving in marriages and building and eating and drinking because everything's peaceful, peace, and then sudden destruction. No, I believe that applies to what the Antichrist is going to do, and he's going to come in on a platform of peace, and then he's going to turn on the world. Peace, then sudden destruction. And the false peace that's coming, only the Antichrist can implement, because if it was Jesus, it'd be a permanent peace. All right. So what I'm saying is, folks, is there's tough times ahead of us, but we're almost there. We're at that finish line. And I'm encouraging everybody to hang in there and hold fast. Hold fast to your faith. Hold fast to your salvation. Hold fast to the things and the crowns and the rewards that God is going to give you in heaven. Don't depart from your estate that God has you in right now. It's time to stay still and be still and know that God is in control. Let go and let God. All right? Let go of everything and let God. Just like he kept Johnny and Linda safe in this truck crash where they came down a cliff. All right? And he walked away. They both basically walked away. That's insane to me. That's the power of God, the power of God that we serve. That's the God we serve. He is that good to his people, and he will see us through up until the very finish line. And you're going to be crossing the finish line, all of us together. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a beautiful thing. We're going to get there, but we have to hang in there for these last few moments. And I'll tell you, it's such a prime opportunity to go out and witness in the name of Jesus Christ. It's such a prime opportunity because people are searching for truth. They see what's going on. They see the writing on the wall, so to speak. It's all around them. It's all around them. And they need answers. And you Christians, especially people who watch my channel, you have the answers. You can say all these things were prophesied to come. And these are signs that his approach is near. It says when these things begin to happen, and they're beginning to happen, not one here or there like has always happened, all at once. This is happening all at once. It says when these things begin to happen, when these things, more than one, not singular, plural, when these things begin to happen, all that he talked about all at once, simultaneously, look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. And it is happening. It's happening right now. All right. And I want to make sure that people know that when Jesus says enduring to the end, I believe he's talking about enduring to the end of the beginning of sorrows, because we're not appointed to God's wrath. We're not appointed to God's wrath. We do not have appointment. We do not have an appointment. Let me say it again. We do not have an appointment with the wrath of God. That's unbiblical. All right. It's to the end of the beginning of sorrows, because it's said after the beginning of sorrows, he that endures to the end shall be saved. Saved from what? The great tribulation. And when people tell you that the rapture isn't in Matthew 24, I'm sorry, I disagree. I think it's all over it. And it's not just to the Jews. It's to the bride of Christ. But the problem is everybody's trying to sell this feel-good message that everything's going to be hunky and dory before we go home. And that's not the case. All right, there's some inconvenient truths in Matthew 24 if you look at it in the context of the pre-tribulation rapture being in that. And so I'll tell you right now, I take hope in that, and I take strength in that, in the Word of God. Jesus was the Word made manifest in the flesh. He's God come in the flesh. All right, it's all interconnected. The Word of God, His Spirit, and the Heavenly Father. And Jesus was the Word made manifest in the flesh. Son of God come in the flesh. It's an amazing, beautiful thing. And he is the spirit of prophecy. Jesus says, behold, I have told you before. He said, awake, awake that ye be not asleep. Awake, awaken, my brothers and sisters in Christ. Awaken to the truth. All who hear truth, hear his voice. You know, and I don't think that we can finish it any better than that. May God bless you all. May he keep you. And please don't forget to go out and change this world in which you live.
Now, let's go down the rabbit hole.